Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And I don't know if you saw, but give me a yes or no if you saw that the legendary Jim Brown is no longer with us. Did anybody else hear about this? This was something I just found out today from Jeff Lightsey Jr., who is an extraordinarily good sports commentator. He focuses a lot on HBCUs. He's one of the best out here in the game. And Jeff reported on Jim Brown's passing, which I just felt compelled to talk about it because Jim Brown, I mean, just talk about a bad, bad man. Jim Brown was one of the great ones. He wasn't just a legend as an athlete. He was a legend as a black man, as a human being. And I had a special relationship in my head with Jim Brown. I never met him, but my relationship in my head was built on the fact that I was at Syracuse University for 13 years on the faculty. And I remember when I was at Syracuse, they really didn't acknowledge Jim the way I think they should have. I think that a lot of these racist institutions, they'll use a Jim Brown. They'll borrow from his talent, but they won't necessarily acknowledge him the way he should be acknowledged. And I just think that that's a damn crime. It's a damn shame. And everybody type Jim Brown in the chat so we can bring him in here as we do kind of a digital eulogy for him. I want to celebrate his life for a minute. So everybody type Jim Brown in the chat. Jim Brown is he's a legend. He's one of the great ones. Jim Brown was he's a man among men. I mean, this guy was just he made you proud. He really made you proud. We have a society that doesn't want black men like Jim to even be born. Like if they knew a Jim Brown was going to be born in the hood, they would ask their mother to go to visit Planned Parenthood. That's how dangerous men like Jim Brown are, because Jim Brown wasn't just physically strong. Jim Brown was also psychologically strong. Jim was not the kind of guy who got along to get along. He wasn't scared to tell racist white folks to kiss his entire black ass. I'm talking about in the 1960s where you get killed for that stuff. Jim Brown just stood up, man, and that was always my impression of him. I just feel like he was just that guy that just really didn't just succeed as an athlete. He also was a guy who really cared about being black and stood up for his rights. In fact, I remember when they threatened him. He was in his late 20s and he'd already broken all these records, as a football player in the NFL. And when he did that, I remember he wanted to be in a movie, and they told him if you don't, get back to training camp, you're going to lose your position on the team. And Jim could just quit. He said, F you, I quit. And he walked away. And it's crazy because Jim Brown had records. In case y'all don't know, Jim had records that weren't broken for decades. I mean, he set records. He set like the rushing record for the most yards in the NFL. And that record stood for years, but he only played till he was, I think, like 28, 29 years old or 30 at the latest. He wasn't one of those guys that played until he couldn't play no more. He could have kept playing. He just chose to do something else. Now, give me a yes if you're able to hear me, okay? Let me know if you can hear me all right. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we're talking about the passing of the legendary, the one and only Jim Brown. Jim died at 87. I'm going to tell you another thing. As you hit the thumbs up button, I'm just sharing thoughts here. I think it's really just magically, almost beautifully ironic that Jim dies on the same day Malcolm X was born. How about that? How about that for some numerology, spirituality type stuff? Two of the greatest black men in the history of this earth, lived and died on the same day. I think that that's phenomenal. And somebody says it's breaking up a little bit. Feel free to hit the link in the bio and you can join us on YouTube. I don't know why it's not coming through the way it should. But anyway, I think that's really fascinating too. I think that the fact that he dies on Malcolm's birthday, I mean, death is never a pleasant thing. Death is always hard. But he lived a long life. He lived to be 87. And, and the fact that he died on Malcolm's birthday, I think is just poetically beautiful, because they both remind me of each other, So there he is back in the day, looking sharp and strong and handsome and everything else. There he is on the football field. And what I want to do with Jim is I want to read some of his eulogy a little bit so we can kind of, or not his eulogy. I'm just going to read right off his Wikipedia page. So I hope that's cool. I hope that's okay. And if you could also do this, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I'm here in Dallas this weekend for the Black Wealth Summit. So if you have an interest in generational wealth, learning mastermind, and it's a business mastermind, it's a wealth mastermind for intelligent Black people all over the world. So if you'd like to come down, you can go to boycewatkins.com and get more information. Also tonight, if you can't make it to Dallas, tonight digitally, Julian Gordon in the Black Business School, he's the Dean of Real Estate. He's doing an event at 8 o'clock on how to get started in multifamily investing. Julian is the only person I know, celebrity or otherwise, who was able to help Black people acquire almost $250 million in real estate. No politician can say that. No celebrity can say that. These are the Black people really doing the work. So let me hop in. Let me show you some pictures. Here's a picture of Jim with Muhammad Ali. And I'm going to read a little bit off of his Wikipedia page. And so we can kind of just, talk about his life a little bit. So Jim, his name is James Nathaniel Brown. A lot of y'all probably didn't know his name. His middle name was Nathaniel. So he was James M. Brown. So James Brown, right? He was an American football player, sports analyst, and actor. He played as a fullback for the Cleveland Browns from 1957 through 1965. So that means that he started playing fullback for the Browns when he was 21, and he retired when he was 29. How about that? How cool is that? I mean, dude could have kept playing if he wanted to. He was the most dominant player in the league, but he went ahead and quit. Considered to be one of the greatest running backs of all time, as well as one of the greatest players in NFL history, Brown was a Pro Bowl invitee. Every season he was in the league, was recognized as the most valuable player 3 times, and won an NFL championship with the Browns in 1964. So he won this championship in 1964, the year before he retired. So I want to kind of put that into context. I want you to think about this. Here's a Black man who won a championship. He wasn't some old guy who was hobbling on one leg trying to barely make it by. He won a championship the year before and still gave the league the middle finger. Let's see here. He led the league in rushing 8 out of 9 seasons. By the time he retired, he held the most major rushing records of any player in the NFL. Can we clap for that? Can we give a digital clap for that? In 2002, he was named by Sporting News as the greatest professional football player ever. Brown earned unanimous All-American honors playing college football at Syracuse University. Now, in case you don't know, I was on the faculty at Syracuse in the finance faculty. And I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry to say it, but this institution has a racism issue because I don't think they really acknowledge Jim the way they should. There was a movie called The Express where they had another brother that Jim Brown recruited named Ernie Davis, I believe is his name. Ernie Davis. Ernie Davis was the first Black man to win a Heisman, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I don't get my facts wrong. And when Ernie won the Heisman, unfortunately, he died of leukemia, which was just tragically sad. Jim Brown was responsible for convincing Ernie Davis to come to Syracuse. And in my view, I don't think Syracuse University really I know in the movie they downplayed Jim's role. They made him come across as the angry Black man. And this made me love Jim Brown that much more because we need more angry Black men out here. We need more Black men that are pissed off and strong and not scared and mentally tough and prepared to take on racism head to head. You can't walk around here as no damn victim and think that you're ever going to get freedom or equality or wealth or power or anything. Power is not given. Power must be taken. Jim Brown was a powerful man. He's also widely recognized as one of the greatest lacrosse players of all time. Now, give me a yes or no. How many of y'all knew Jim Brown played lacrosse? How many of y'all knew he played lacrosse? Give me a yes or no if you knew Jim Brown was probably as good at lacrosse as he was at football, if you can believe that or not. Like, this dude was a beast. He was an absolute beast. Let me tell you, and by the way, he also excelled at basketball and track and field. He dominated all those sports. All those sports. Ain't nobody out here like that. Tell me another player that you know of who dominates football, basketball, track, and lacrosse. He was so good at lacrosse. In lacrosse back in the day, you could just take the little ball. It's mostly white boys play, to be honest with you. I know there's Black lacrosse players. I just never seen them. They throw this ball like in a little thing. And in lacrosse, you can take the ball and you're trying to get it down the field, so you can just cover it up and run with it. And they just have to hit you to try to get the ball out of your away from you. Jim Brown would do that, and they couldn't get the ball from him. So they changed the rules. You know how they do when we start winning. They change the rules. So literally, it's a basket. Thank you, Linda. Thank you for helping me with my ignorance. I admit I'm a lacrosse idiot. I'm a complete moron when it comes to lacrosse. But anyway, they would try to get it away from him. They couldn't get it away from him. So, they literally changed the rules. They changed the rules of lacrosse forever because they said we can't have these Negroes coming in here dominating lacrosse because black women are the only women capable of giving birth to a Jim Brown. And they said black women are having babies. They're going to give birth to another one. And then we won't be, they'll dominate lacrosse like they dominate everything else. So let me keep reading Jim Brown's bio here. They said in his professional career, Brown carried the ball 2,359 times for 12,312 yards. Which were all records, and 106 touchdowns, which are all records when he retired. He averaged 104.3 rushing yards per game and is the only NFL player in history to average over 100 yards per game for his whole career. His 5.2 yards per rush is the third best among running backs behind Marion Motley and Jamal Charles. I know Jamal Charles, but not Marion Motley. Brown was enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1971, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so now we talked about football. Let's talk about where he comes from. He was born on St. Simons Island, Georgia, to Swinton Brown, a professional boxer. Okay, that makes sense. His daddy was a big, strong man, apparently. And his wife, Teresa, who was a homemaker. So she some people say homemakers don't have a real job. I think that's a bunch of crap. I think there's no job more important on this earth than being a mother because she gave birth to this amazing man and she nurtured him and raised him in a way that led him to not just be extremely athletically capable, but also he's very intelligent and he also cared about his community. See, that's the trifecta. Right. He was a great athlete, but he was also a smart, great athlete. And he was an athlete that was smart and great and cared about his community. So there you go. That makes him a winner. So let's see. They said Brown credits. Listen to this. This is where he comes from. This is I want you to think about this if you're a parent. He says Brown credits his self-reliance to having grown up on St. Simons Island, a community off the coast of Georgia, where he was raised by his grandmother and where racism did not affect him directly. Okay, so he didn't grow up around a lot of racism. So he actually came in as an uppity Negro. And I say that in a respectful way. He came in as the black man who didn't know his place. He came in saying, like, why in the hell are you expecting me to sit at the back of the bus? I'm not sitting at the back of the damn bus. At the age of 8, he moved to Manhasset, New York, on Long Island, where his mother worked as a domestic. It was at Manhasset High School that he became a football star and athletic legend. Brown averaged a then Long Island record 38 points per game for the basketball team. Come on, man. Come on, stop it, Jim. Stop it. You just hurting him right now, but brother. We just finished talking about how Jim dominated in football. We talked about how he dominated in lacrosse. We briefly mentioned track and field, which I can tell you he probably dominated that too, because track and field is about sprinting. You can't tell me Jim Brown wasn't an excellent sprinter. He could outrun you or he could run you over. That's a crazy combination in football, like Bo Jackson level status. So he was the Bo Jackson who also happened to average 38 points a game on the high school basketball team. Come on now. Come on. You can this is why this guy just gets me pumped up. He was dominant. He was a great black man. So anyway, let me keep reading about Jim. All right. So he averaged 38 points a game for the basketball team. The record was later broken by a Boston Red Sox star. So I guess it's a baseball player who was good at basketball too. As a sophomore at Syracuse University, second year in college, he was the second leading rusher on the team. As a junior, he rushed for 5.2 yards a carry. In his senior year in 1956, he was consensus first-team All-American. He finished 5th in the Heisman Trophy voting and set school records for the highest season rush average, 6.2 yards a carry, and most rushing touchdowns in a single game, 6. In the Cotton Bowl, he rushed for 132 yards, scored 3 touchdowns, and kicked 3 extra points. So he even kicked the extra points. But let's see here. Perhaps the most impressive was his success as a multi-sport athlete. In addition to his football accomplishments, he excelled at basketball, track, and especially lacrosse. As a sophomore, he was the second leading scorer for the basketball team at Syracuse. They didn't say basketball, and earned a letter on the track team. In 1955, he finished 5th in the national championship decathlon. So that's another sport. This is great. I love this. You ever take time to read somebody's bio? This is some cool stuff. His senior year, he was named first-team All-American in lacrosse. He was so dominant in the game Listen, this is where they changed the rules for black people. He was in lacrosse. He was so dominant that the lacrosse rules were changed, requiring a lacrosse player to keep their stick in constant motion when carrying the ball instead of holding it close to the body. There is currently no rule in lacrosse that requires a player to keep his stick in motion. He's in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame and has an 800 square foot tapestry. The JMA Wireless Dome has an 800 square foot tapestry depicting Brown in football and lacrosse uniforms with the words "Greatest Player Ever." So Jim Brown is known, at least in many circles, as not just the greatest football player ever. He's the greatest lacrosse player ever. The greatest lacrosse player ever. Didn't even go pro in lacrosse. Let's keep going. In college, he served in the Army Reserves. After graduating, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant. During his time in the NFL, Brown continued his military commitment. As a member of the U.S. Army Reserve, he served 4 years and was discharged as a captain. Brown was taken in the first round in the 1957 draft, 6th overall. In 1958, he broke the single-season rushing record with 1,527 yards in the 12-game season, shattering the previous NFL mark of 1,146 yards. After 9 years in the NFL, he departed as the league's record holder for both single-season and career rushing yards, as well as the all-time leader in rushing touchdowns, total touchdowns, all-purpose yards. He was the first player to reach the 100 touchdown milestone. Let's see here. His record of scoring 100 touchdowns in only 93 games stood until LaDainian Tomlinson did it in 89 games during the 2006 season. Every season he played, he was voted to the Pro Bowl. Let's see, his 1,863 yards in the 1963 season remains a Cleveland franchise record. It's currently the oldest franchise record for rushing out of all 32 NFL teams. He averaged 133 points per game. Yards per game. That is exceeded only by O.J. Simpson's 1973 season. Y'all don't know this. Y'all may not know this, but O.J. was a bad boy before he decided to go, allegedly murdering white women. Let's see here. He retired in 1966 after 9 seasons as the NFL's all-time leading rusher. He held the record of 12,312 yards until it was broken by Walter Payton, another great one. Now, his acting career, he was in a few movies. I don't know if y'all know that, but he began his acting career before the 1964 season. So this is 9 years into his NFL season. He played a Buffalo soldier in a Western action film called Rio Conchos. The film premiered at the Cleveland's Hippodrome Theater on October 23rd with Brown and his teammates in attendance. In early 1966, he was shooting a second film in London, MGM's The Dirty Dozen, which cast Brown as Robert Jefferson, one of 12 convicts sent to France during World War II to assassinate German officers meeting at a castle near Rennes in Brittany before the D-Day invasion. Production delays due to bad weather meant he missed at least the first part of training camp on the campus of Hiram College, which annoyed Cleveland Browns owner Art Modell, who threatened to fine Brown $1,500, which is equivalent to $12,500 in 2021 for every week of camp he missed. Brown, who previously said that 1966 would be his last season, the final year of a 3-year contract, announced his retirement instead. So he went on to play the villain in a 1967 episode of I Spy called Cops and Robbers. It doesn't look like he had a long acting career. I'm reading more. Let me see here. They said, wait. Somebody say, I'm going to get you, sucker. Who said that? Original Gangsters. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So let me keep reading here. Let me keep going. By the way, hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. And if you want to know where I'm at, I'm in a hotel now. I'm actually in Dallas at the Omni Hotel, and we are doing a 2-day Black Wealth Summit. If you want to join us in Dallas, it's at the Black Academy of Arts and Letters. We start tonight, and then we go tomorrow all day long. So if you want to hang out with other Black wealth builders, then this is the place to be. We're masterminding on wealth. We got a lot of people coming in, everybody from people that are still working jobs to people that are multimillionaires. And it's a great place to engage with other like-minded people that want to build businesses and investment clubs and everything else. So come on by, and we're going to do some training on everything from real estate to making extra money to generational wealth, all that stuff. So feel free to join us. Just go to BoyceWatkins.com to learn more, or you can also go to BoyceWatkins.com and get a link for tonight's event in the Black Business School. This is online. It's Julian Gordon. He's going to introduce you to multifamily real estate. because I believe wealth is power. I believe that Black people that have more money in their pocket tend to have more access to freedom and opportunity. And I want you to know everything you need to know about wealth. So if you want to join us in the Black Business School, we've helped over 10 million people invest for the first time. Feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. The link is all there. All right, so hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Let me read a little bit more about Jim Brown. RIP to Jim. Jim just passed today, but it sounds like he lived a very full life. They said that he went to 20th Century Fox for 100 Rifles in 1969. Let's see, he was in a movie with Raquel Welch and Burt Reynolds, and he had a love scene with Raquel Welch. Oh, that's right. Remember that? It was one of the first interracial love scenes. So he kissed a white woman on TV in 1969. Yeah, Raquel Welch. Wasn't she like the hot white lady at the time?
Beautiful.
That's funny. Yeah. So Raquel Welch and Jim Brown. I'm sure this made them mad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they can't compare to Black women. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna show y'all a screenshot of what I just found. I'm gonna show you why I'm laughing. Yeah, apparently Raquel must have liked Jim a little bit. Let me show y'all what I just found on these internet streets up in here. Hold on, let me pull it up. All right, so here's some images of Jim and Raquel. That's her. She's the little one, and the lighter one. That's another image. They look awfully cozy. What y'all think? Look like they. Oh, she's Latina. Is that right? She was Hispanic. Okay, I didn't know she was Hispanic. She must be a white person who speaks Spanish. That's right. We think Hispanic is not the same as white. They got more white people in Latin America than they got in the United States. So don't get it twisted. The racism in Latin America is worse than the racism here. When I went to Colombia, they keep all the Black people on the other side of town. I went to the side of town I was on, literally was nothing but white people. I was like, where are the Black Colombians? They were like, oh, they keep them over in the ghettos, or go to Brazil. So anyway, so don't be thinking that just because somebody's Latina that y'all got some coalition or that's your brother or your sister. They don't like your Black ass either. All right, so anyway, let me keep going. Now this picture here, look at that one. Wow, she's all up on him like that. Oh, and I bet white folks didn't like that. What do y'all think? You think they took this off screen, or? There we go. Let me see here. Wow. Okay. Isn't it interesting when somebody like passes, we take the time to really reflect on their life and you see all the amazing stuff that they did. So anyway, let me keep going. All right. So anyway, all right. So let me give focus, boys. Focus. All right. So Brown starred in several blaxploitation genre films. Slaughter, 1972, a huge hit for AIP. Black Gun for Columbia. Slaughter's Big Ripoff. That sounds like a blaxploitation film. The Slams. I Escaped from Devil's Island in 1973, Three the Hard Way in 1974, with Fred Williamson and Jim Kelly. He spoofed his own image in the role of Slammer in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker in 1988, and Hammer, Slammer, and Slade, a television pilot released as a made-for-television film. He did a spaghetti western, Take the Hard Ride, in 1975. Okay, so let's see here. He posed nude in a September 1974 issue of Playgirl magazine as one of the rare celebrities to allow full frontal nude pictures to be used. Brown also worked as a color analyst on NFL telecast CBS in 1978. In 1983, 17 years after retiring from football, Brown mused about coming out of retirement to play for the LA Raiders. So he talked about coming out of retirement 17 years after. So he was born in 1936. So he turned 50 in 1986. Which means in 1983, he was 47, wondered if he still got it. And he probably could have played. He probably could have kept playing, actually. He could have, done the Black Tom Brady thing, I guess, at 47. I mean, if anybody could do it, it's an athlete like him, right? I mean, he was clearly dominant and better than a lot of the other guys. Let's see here. What else? They said Brown okay, so he talked about Franco Harris, who actually I think was threatening his record. He offered to come out of retirement and play for the Raiders when it appeared that Pittsburgh Steelers running back Franco Harris would break Brown's all-time rushing record. Brown disliked Harris's style of running, criticizing the Steelers running back's tendency to run out of bounds, a marked contrast to Brown's approach of fighting for every yard and taking on the approaching tackler. Eventually, Walter Payton of the Bears broke his record in 1984, with Brown having ended thoughts of a comeback. Harris himself, who retired after the 84 season after playing 8 games with the Seattle Seahawks, fell short of Brown's mark. In 1965, Brown was the first Black televised boxing announcer. Okay, interesting. His autobiography, published in 1989 by Zebra Books, was titled Out of Bounds. It was co-written by Steve Dolson. I'm looking to see what else is here. Now, he did have a personal life. He married his first wife, Sue Brown, in September 1959. So that means he's 23 years old at this point. She sued for divorce in 1968, so that's what 9 years later, charging him with gross neglect. Together, they had 3 children, twins born in 1960 and a son born in 1962. Their divorce was finalized in 1972. Brown was ordered to pay $2,500 a month in alimony and $100 a week in child support. In 1965, he was arrested in a hotel room for assault and battery against an 18-year-old named Brenda Ayers. He was later acquitted of those charges. A year later, he fought paternity allegations that he fathered Brenda Ayers' child. And I know this is not fun to read. It's not fun to read the controversial stuff, but I think that when you reflect on a person's life, I think it's okay to talk about who they were in its entirety and not just the good or the bad. I think it's okay to mix it up. So I'm just going to read here and just read what I see. In 1968, he was charged with assault with intent to commit murder after model Eva Bon Chin was found beneath the balcony of Brown's second-floor apartment. The charges were later dismissed after Bon Chin refused to cooperate with the prosecutor's office. Brown was ordered to pay a $300 fine for striking the deputy sheriff involving the investigation during the incident. In Brown's autobiography, he stated that Bon Chin was angry and jealous over an affair he'd been having with Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem, the famous feminist.
What was that?
Brown was having an affair allegedly with Gloria Steinem.
You know, his personal life, I think, was a little bit chaotic and probably not something to be very proud of.
Yeah, he had some stuff.
I think that's.
Yeah, he was in the middle of some shit, it looks like.
Yeah.
In 1970, Brown was found not guilty of assault and battery. The charges stemming from a road rage incident that occurred in 1969. So let's see, by this time he is, 34 years old, right? So he's still a young guy. 1960, he turned 30 in 1966. In 1973, where he's 37, he proposed marriage to 18-year-old Diane Stanley, a Clark student that he met in Acapulco, Mexico. They broke off their engagement in 1974. In 1975, he was convicted of misdemeanor battery for beating and choking his golf partner, Frank Snow. Okay, wow. Ooh. Oh, dang. Well, you know what? I don't know how y'all feel about it. How do you feel about if there was an allegation and the charges are dismissed? You know, am I being a hater when I read it and bring it up? Or is it just a matter of record? Just something, I don't know. I would just at the very least hope that if whatever we see or we read, we understand human beings are complex and people make mistakes. And in my view, I admire Jim Brown immensely. At the same time, I can understand that it seems like he might have hurt some people or some things might have happened that were very unfortunate. And I think you have to acknowledge that. So I'm going to go ahead and say this. In my view, based on what I've been reading, Jim Brown, he wasn't always a good man. It sounds like he may not have always been a good man. But you cannot say Jim Brown was not a great man. You know, see, there's a difference between being a good man and a great man. And Jim Brown was certainly, without question, a great man. Was he always a good man? Well, it sounds like it depends on who you ask, you know. And I will say this about this great man. So I'm not going to say good man anymore. I'm going to say great man because I'm still trying to process all this. We're going to miss him. I know that despite the fact that he might have been accused of doing some things that were less than stellar, he also did some stellar things. I remember reading about him trying to work and help Richard Pryor overcome his drug addiction, and Richard started avoiding him because sometimes weak men get very uncomfortable around strong men. And Jim was definitely a strong man. He was a great man. He was a smart man. He was a conscious man. But it sounds like he might have been a man that might have made some mistakes. But, you know, I guess that's life. So how are we going to judge that? So anyway, I'm going to head on out, guys. RIP to Mr. Brown. And thank you all for listening. It was great talking to you all. And if you want to join us in Dallas, you can go to BoyceWatkins.com. I'll be here for 2 days, and then I'm done for a while until the All Black National Convention. The All Black National Convention is the #1 gathering of B1 people from around the world. So if you'd like to join us at the convention in October 20th to 22nd, you can go to either my website, BoyceWatkins.com, or go to allblacknationalconvention.com. So feel free to take a look at that. And then tonight, if you want to join us for our multifamily real estate mastermind event, feel free to go to BoyceWatkins.com for that too. So God bless you guys. Have a good night. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all soon. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, 10, 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV.